If you feel like you're financially behind at 27, you're probably not. But it's also possible you aren't where you think you are. I literally just got home from work, and tonight I want to spend some time showing you exactly where I'm at financially and also what my life looks like. I work in healthcare, I have a stable job, I did everything you're supposed to do. But I am still dealing with student loan debt while trying to build my net worth. And if you only looked at my life from the outside, you probably wouldn't be able to guess at the numbers really at all. So I'm going to take you through a normal evening with me and chat through what my financial picture looks like, including everything and every single one of my bank accounts. And by the end, I'll show you my exact net worth so you know where you stack up. But first, let's get out of these scrubs and get ready for the evening. My missions for this evening are to get my house tidied, take care of myself, and make sure I'm ready for the weekend. And of course, tell you way too much about my money. And I also need to empty this dishwasher. So let's start with my student loan, shall we? As many of you know, I borrowed $127,000 to pay for graduate school, and one of my biggest missions here on this channel is to pay that debt off as fast as possible. I have a goal of having it all paid off by the end of the year, but let's see where we're at now. I had 5 student loans. Student loan 1 currently has a balance of $18,117. Student loan 2 currently has a balance of $17,787. Student loan 3 has a balance of $25,658. Student loan 4 has a balance of 0, and student loan 5 has a balance of $2,663.65. So that means my current student loan balance is $65,226. I started paying these off in May of 2024. It is currently March of 2026. Last month in February, when I filmed this video, my balance was $71,044. So that means that in the last 28 days, I have paid off $5,818 of debt. That's crazy. Part of getting ready for my weekend is making a to-do list. And one thing that's on that to-do list is dealing with my freaking car, because it has now been almost 3 months since I purchased this thing and I still don't have plates for it. At no fault of my own, the paperwork wasn't filed by my dealership. But since I have to add that to my to-do list for the weekend, I figured now's a great time to tell you about my car loan. So if you're new to the novel that is my debt payoff journey, I was driving a 2010 Subaru Outback that had 180,000 miles on it. She was fully paid off, of course, and she was a great car, except that I had to make a couple major repairs. I was about $3,000 into this car, and then she blew a head gasket, among other things. This is gonna cost up to $8,000 to repair. I live in the mountains. I need all-wheel drive and a decent amount of clearance, and I also need something super reliable in order to get to and from my job at a hospital, like a literal actual hospital. It also just wasn't making sense anymore for me to keep dumping money into this car that was just costing me thousands and thousands of dollars. At the time, my partner and I had started saving $1,000 a month for a car, but we'd only been saving for like 2 months at this point, and so there wasn't money to put into a car. The goal is to go down to a 1-car household eventually, and so we had to make the decision. I needed a reliable car. I did not want a money pit. We had been kind of knowing that we would replace either of our cars, whoever's went first, with a RAV4. We really like the car itself, love Toyota, whatever. And so because my car died somewhat suddenly and I knew I needed a reliable car, I was kind of stuck in a market at the end of the year where used low mileage RAV4s were like $33,000, or I could buy a new RAV4 for $39,000. So we opted to go the new route because something with 40,000 miles on it wasn't gonna last as long as something with 0 miles on it. New car gave me a warranty and a few years with pretty predictable costs, which is huge considering that in a few years I'll be completely debt free. And it was gonna make sense to finance the car anyways because we don't keep a lot of cash on hand. We were saving for the car, but we pretty much invest a lot of what we make. So the car was gonna have to be financed anyways because it was such a low interest rate that it just didn't make sense to pull money from investments. Last month in February, my car loan was $39,518. And today in March, my car loan is $37,911.15. This loan is at like 4.5% interest. So it's relatively low interest, and it is lower interest than my student loans. So it will be tackled after my student loans, but it will be paid off early. In total, I'm down $1,607 on my car loan since I last made one of these videos. I did accidentally pay my car loan twice. So anyways, I'm now going to add checking in on my car's registration to my to-do list. When it comes to cash on hand, I am not a fan of having a lot of it. Right now, well, my financial goals are not very cash related. Well, I basically just keep enough in savings to have like a 3 or 4 month emergency fund, and then I save for known or predictable expenses. Within reason, I can't save for every single predictable expense, but I save for the ones that are most likely gonna happen in addition to my emergency fund. So I have sinking funds and an emergency fund. Sinking funds are definitely my life hack to being able to live a super full life while paying off off debt, because these are how I afford most of the expensive parts of that life. If you follow me, which you absolutely should if you want to support me on this money growth journey, then you know that I give myself $200 a month to spend on whatever, and I save $220 per month personally towards these sinking funds. I have sinking funds for credit card fees because I like to use credit cards in order to earn points on my everyday purchases, and then I use those points to afford things like travel. I track all of my spending so I don't spend more just because I'm using a credit card, because I've tracked every single expense within that $200, as well as like groceries and utilities. I do this on my budget template that is linked down below if you're interested. I also track all of my sinking funds in that budget template, and it allows me to spend directly from those sinking funds, so I don't have to be moving money around just to track it in my budget. So that is linked down below. Other sinking funds that I have are for like car maintenance. I have a sinking fund for travel. I have a sinking fund for my ski pass, and this is how I make those major purchases without having to sacrifice my goals in a month. Rather than have one big purchase in a month, I spread it out over the course of a year. Sinking funds also take away a lot of the guilt and shame around those major purchases, because I already know that the money is earmarked for that purchase. So I can just buy plane tickets because I have $700 saved in a sinking fund specifically for plane tickets. And I save that $700 for plane tickets while also putting over $3,000 a month to my debt. I will retire early because of sinking funds. Okay, that might be a little bit of an overstatement, but they definitely help me keep my money organized and keep the emotions around money, which anyone that tries to tell you that there's no emotion around money is wrong. It helps me keep the emotion around money in check. Okay, while my fries are cooking, I'm gonna clean up this kitchen. My plan had been that after sitting on the computer for a little while, I would get up and go for a trail run and take you guys along and show you some of Colorado's Front Range wonderful trails. I am training for some summer adventures. Stay tuned if you're interested in that. There will be a fun little update in a couple months, but it is the end of March, and it was wildly and ridiculously smoky outside. There are some fires burning in western Nebraska, and all of that smoke has just blown over and socked us in here in the Front Range, which is ideal and probably some foreshadowing to how our summer is gonna go. Long story long, I'm just going for a walk instead. So while I put my shoes on, let's talk about investments. What an angle indeed. So yes, I do have student loans. Yes, I am paying off debt. Yes, I am also investing because I am in my 20s and this money will grow so much, but I only do what I call bare minimum investing, where I invest up to my 401k match, stop there, and max out my Roth IRA. Any money that I make over this that doesn't need to go to my necessary expenses goes to my student loans. I started seriously investing at the beginning of 2025, so just about 14 months. We're talking a baby that can barely talk, and I have $10,780 in my Roth IRA. That's up $960 from last month, and I have $9,599 in my 401k. That is up $435 from last month. And my HSA, I never know whether to consider it savings or investment. Right now, I guess it's technically more savings because I have more of it in cash than I do in stocks. But last month, my HSA was at $2,000 cash, $776 invested, and it is now at $2,076.94 in cash and $885 invested. So this is up $185 from last month. Let's go see what the world has to offer us on a walk. I bet you don't know a lot of YouTubers that have told you their net worth while laying in bed. But let's go ahead and consider this a little nightcap before I really wind down with a reread of Throne of Glass. Just as a little refresher, or in case you weren't here, last month my net worth was negative $77,143. Reminder, I am 27 years old. This is a crazy change. This month my net worth is negative $69,945. That is a change of $7,196 in 1 month. I grew the habit of putting extra money towards my loans and also prioritizing investing and debt payoff over major life inflation. But I do still spend money on me. I travel a ton. I hang out with friends. I just opt to do things in a less expensive way. And I don't fill my life with meaningless spending. I'm super intentional about what I do. Because of this, I had extra income this month and I was able to direct it meaningfully and towards my goals. If you want to learn how I do this, you should absolutely subscribe. And I will see you in the next video.